In a little bit, too. Cheers, man. Okay, going live. We are live. Excellent. Nice one. We're off the mark. Morning, everybody. Welcome back. Hope we've all had a good weekend. Hope it stayed at least dry where you've been. You know, we've had a little bit of rain over here, but yeah, it's certainly getting cold as well. I can feel the first morning we've had ice this morning on the car. So yeah, it's definitely getting that way. So we're probably going to be thinking about actually this time of year if we've been going out for walks, especially cycling, because cycling's really sort of that good bit riskier in the winter, you know. But walking's a little bit the same, you know. We're going to have ice, we're going to have snow, not to mention the wind and the rain and the sleet and just all the nastiness. So don't forget, guys, we do have a load of workouts on the Media Savvy channel. YouTube channel that you can do in the house if you wanted to. So like I say, if you know the winter months come round and they're a little bit sort of in the way, give you a couple of barriers to getting out and getting some regular exercise. Like I say, just bear in mind that those videos are there. There's stretching, you know, there's stuff you can do sat down, there's full intensive like interval sessions and stuff like that. So yeah, it's an ideal time as well to be thinking about our fitness. And I know that we're going into week 2 of our pre-employability and wellness course, but there's no better time than the present really to get going with stuff, I guess, you know, and thinking about, okay, can I start to make some small manageable sustainable changes to my lifestyle, you know, be it food or be it exercise, that you can do it very gradually to maybe, you know, not only put you, what would we be, 5-6 weeks ahead of everybody coming into the new year, you know, you could be in a routine by then, you could have the ball rolling, and make it a lot more manageable for yourself along the way, rather than getting to the 1st of January and going, right, that's it, I'm getting fit this year, I'm losing X amount of weight, and you try and just turn your whole life upside down, your food changes, your exercise changes. Typically, you're only going to maintain that for so long, you know, a week or two, maybe a month. I think it's about 7 or 8 out of 10 New Year's resolutions are normally done by the end of January. So giving yourself plenty of time between now and then to make some small transitions, you know, like 1 week, you might try and focus on getting a little bit of extra sleep. The next week, you might try and make sure that you're drinking enough water through the day and getting enough sleep. And you just add something on each week, make it small, like I say, manageable. And you actually lay yourself a good foundation for success. Because like I say, you're not trying to bite off more than you can chew. You're not trying to do everything all at once. And it really does give you a chance to get used to it, make it part of your routine, and sort of kick on from there. But yeah, you know, really interesting session that we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be looking at healthy eating and food labels, in the idea of, you know, we don't want to have to say, right, we can never have treats, we can never have the snacks that we enjoy, you know, we can never have a bit of ice cream with a movie or a bit of popcorn or whatever it might be. The real trick isn't cutting everything out. The real trick is learning what is in it to figure out how much of something you can have, and then, you know, how you can sort of fit it into the rest of your day's nutrition. Really, you know, that it's a really quite extreme approach to say, right, we're going to be healthy eating, we're going on a diet, right, no more cakes and biscuits or whatever, like, ever, you know, like, what's the point? I always say, what's the point of training and exercising and eating good to feel healthy and be happy, and then deprive ourselves of all the stuff that we actually enjoy eating as well, you know? So it's all about learning how to balance it, really, you know. It's how you can have the treats and the stuff that we enjoy, and to make sure your body gets what it actually needs. And I guess the best place to start with that is figuring out what role our food actually plays in the body. You know, why do we need protein? Why do we need carbohydrates? Because when we know why we need it, we can get an idea how much we actually need on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, so our food might not look the same every day based on how active we are, what are we doing, you know, how many calories are we maybe burning. So if your food may well change day to day, but that's the beauty of it. The more we get our head around this sort of thing, the more the more flexible we can be. I guess the more wiggle room we've got, and the better we understand our food as well. So of course that's going to finish in at the end of the day session. We're going to be looking at how to learn how to read food labels, because they can be really misleading. You know, you pick it up and you say like, okay, per serving 20 grams of sugar, 40 grams of fat, blah blah blah. Like, is that good? Is that bad? You might have no idea. So, you know, especially in a time where there's not always everything in the shops that we want, you know, and in times where, you know, I still rush around the shops to get out, so I'm not in people's way. Like I have done all through COVID and through lockdowns and stuff like that. So again, I don't like dithering in the aisles and like, oh, do I want this one? Do I want that one? So it's handy to be able to go, right, okay, that one's got that much sugar in, that one's got that much sugar in. I'm going to go with the one with less sugar, you know. So there's a lot of benefits we can get from understanding our food and our body, what the food does in our body, and I guess most importantly, how we can actually figure out what is in the food that we're looking at, you know, before it goes in our basket, into our cupboards, and inevitably into our home, into our stomach. Sorry, because if it's not going in our stomachs, it's probably going in the bin eventually, which is not ideal either, you know. So let's get into it then, guys. So we've got 3 what we would call macronutrients in our diet. Now I'm going to give you just a few seconds or so to have a little guess and see if you can figure out what these are. Yeah, so our 3 macronutrients that make up pretty much the majority of all of our food can be split into these three groups, these 3 macronutrients. And there's one begins with C, one begins with P, one begins with F, and I might have actually given 1 or 2 of them away already this morning if you've been listening carefully. So have a quick little guess at them. We'll give it another few seconds or so, and then if you want a bit longer, and you can do this at any point with these online sessions, if you want a little bit longer, you can pause it. You know, just pause the YouTube video, spend as long as you want getting the answers, press play, and just watch the rest of the session from there. If you're watching along live, obviously you'll fall a little bit behind the live chat and what's going on, but that's no bother. If you're watching it on like later on in the week when you've got a little bit more time, if you're maybe watching this towards like Thursday, Friday or whatever, still by all means just pause it if you need to, if you ever need to sort of take a bit more time to read something, although I do try and make sure that I don't just blast through everything. Okay guys, so our 3 macronutrients in our diet are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Yeah, so we've got carbs, protein, and fat, which is going to make up pretty much all the food that we eat. If you pick up a food label, most of the time it's going to tell you those 3 things and not much else, to be honest. You know, you might get like a little bit of salt and stuff. So I've actually got a tin of beans here, a tin of Heinz baked beans. So looking at the food label, it tells me that there's, let's have a look. So it tells me the energy, of course, because we need to know how much energy we're getting from our food. And that's all calories are. Calories are just a measurement of energy, which is what our body needs to move. It's a universal thing. And in terms for growth and development and movement, things need energy. And in this sense, we're talking calories. So that's all calories are, which starts to make a little bit more sense when you think about it, like as well when you think about calories in versus calories out, making the difference between, are you gaining weight, are you losing weight? It's all to do with energy. So if you are burning more energy than you're eating, you're going to lose weight. Whereas if it's the other way around, you'll end up gaining weight. If you're actually eating and consuming more calories than you're burning, your body says, oh, okay, I'll save them, tuck them away for a rainy day. I'll tuck them calories away for the future, in case, you know, and anything ever happens and we run out of food, I'll save that and we'll be good to go. So yeah, we've got these three macronutrients: carbs, proteins, and fats, and each of them have their own very sort of unique job and role within the body. Again, meaning that we might need different quantities day to day. So the first one that we're going to look at, and the first one that I want to look at, is carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, are essentially our main source of energy. So our body uses carbs for energy because it breaks it down into essentially sort of glucose, glycogen, and we'll be able to use it for energy. That is why we get certain carbohydrates that kick in a lot faster, yeah, which is what we call simple, sort of like simple carbs, like sugars. They'll kick in really quick. It's why you'll see maybe footballers having a couple of Jaffa cakes before they run onto the pitch, or maybe it's a banana or something like that, because those are quite fast acting carbohydrates, because they're already sort of like, they've got a sugar content. Whereas something like something starchy that makes up our complex carbs, something starchy like pasta or potato or bread or whatever, takes a lot longer for your body to break it down. So that is why you might see somebody who's doing like a Great North Run or a marathon or whatever it might be, might really load up on carbohydrates the day before, you know, your Weetabix, your pastas, your rice, whatever it might be, because those sugars take a little bit longer, or those carbs take a little bit longer to fuel you. But ultimately, really, that's what we're trying to do. Sugars that are slow releasing, you know, which is why whole grain is even better. You know, our brown bread, our brown rice, because it releases even slower. And the body manages it a lot better. That slow release gives us energy throughout the day. Whereas if we have like a load of sugar, it kicks in straight away. We have like a sugar spike, but it only lasts so long, and then you crash and come down the other side from it. So it's really easy to fall into the habit of sugary snack, up, sugar crash. Oh, I'll have another sugary snack then to pick myself up again. And it can lead into quite a little bit of a vicious cycle as well. So we do want those sort of slow releasing carbs, really. But again, it depends on what it is that we're doing. Because if you were going to play a sport or something and you wanted something to kick in, loading up on a load of pasta right before you go isn't the right way to do it. I remember there's an episode of The Office where they do a fun run, and the manager, Michael Scott, decides he's going to have like a full carbonara or something before they set off. And like 2 minutes in, he's just like dying. He's ready to throw up. I think he does throw up, actually. So yeah, that's not the plan for like immediately before you need to go and do some exercise. You'd be much better off with like even sort of like potentially even stuff like an apple, some grapes, maybe like if you're going to go a little bit further, go like one of them Lucozade like sort of sports drinks and stuff like that as well. Just being aware how much of that energy we are going to burn. What you see a lot of people do is drinking stuff like them Lucozade sports drinks that give you sugar to compete and exercise, but just casually, you know, sat at home on the couch watching the telly, but there's no way they're going to burn off those sugars. So chances are it may very well just get stored and saved us fat, really, if we're not going to use it. Okay, guys, so we've checked a couple of examples of carbohydrates out there already as well, but of course, it's quite a big food group, really. We've got our bread, pasta, potatoes, rice. Pasta's on there again for some reason, because why not? I'm going to change that to something else, although I do like pasta. Oats, granola, cereal in general, but vegetables and fruit as well also count as carbohydrates, which I think often gets forgotten when people say I'm going on a no-carb diet. Like, a no-carb diet would be one of the worst ideas if that also included no fruit and veg, because no diet should be encouraging no fruit and veg. But when it comes to a low-carb diet, fruit and veg are the only carbs that you can have, really. And even then, I think fruit might be restricted in some way. Maybe it's a piece or two, like a couple of bits a day. I think you try and get more from your veg because it doesn't have some of the sugars that it does as well. But again, I'm not really the expert on low-carb diets, because I've always had quite a high carb tolerance. I need quite a lot of carbohydrates and feel quite lousy and quite lethargic without them. But that is more to do with body type, which is what we can look at in a future session as well, how different body types have different needs. But really, yeah, it's a case of, okay, when do we need carbohydrates? Can we think about our timing of our carbohydrates? And like I say, how many do we actually need? How active have you been? How active do you plan on being? You know, granted, carbohydrates tend to be one of the cheaper parts of our meals. You know, you can get a big bag of pasta for £1 or £2, whereas, you know, for a couple of chicken breasts, you're going to pay £4 or £5. When chicken breast being protein, of course, which is what we're going to get onto in just a sec. But yeah, there's lots of different forms of carbohydrates. I tend to plan my meals kind of from the carbohydrates outwards. I'll think about what my base is going to be. You know, am I going to have some egg noodles, or am I going to have some rice or some pasta or whatever it is? And then I'll think to myself, right, okay, can I get some protein in there? Get a chicken, some beef, whatever it might be, some pork, and then think about, you know, mainly I go to make sure I get some veg in there as well, of course. I don't really think specifically how do I get some fats in at every meal, because it sort of just comes with some of the other stuff they eat. But I'll also have like sort of a lot of nuts through the day as well, which have got quite a high fat content, good fat. Yeah, I tend to have a lot of sort of like nuts as I'm snacking throughout the day as well, so I don't worry too much about getting fats in me specifically at meal times. But even in fact, we'll do fats when we get to it. We'll do fats when we get to it. Yeah. Okay, we'll go protein next then. So protein, our body uses protein for growth, for maintenance, just sort of upkeep itself, and of course repair. When we're exercising, especially at the gym and doing stuff that's strenuous, we're challenging our body, which tends to actually tear our muscle fibers. But that's what we want. That's a good thing, because our body then uses protein to repair them, and they come back, you know, better, faster, stronger. Channeling me in a Kanye West this morning. Yeah, they do. They come back sort of more defined. Bigger, obviously depends on whether we're eating like a surplus of calories and stuff like that as well. But yeah, a lot of repair, like I say, as your body like your cells, your organs and stuff like that as well, your body needs to repair itself. We have wear and tear, and that's what your body does when you're asleep. And we sleep to let our body recharge and give a chance to repair itself, you know, maintenance as well. That's why you wake up with like sleep in the corner of your eye. Your body's cleaning itself. Your eyes are cleaning themselves, sort of pushing sort of contaminants out. And it's all protein. Yeah, your body uses protein for all of those different reasons there. So growth, maintenance, and repair for protein. That's why you'll see obviously a lot of gym goers, especially like weightlifters, bodybuilders and stuff like that, will usually have a protein shake or something after they've finished training, and that's to get that protein into the system and start repairing the muscles that they've just exercised pretty much as soon as possible. Okay, so what foods are actually classed as proteins then? So we've got fish. A lot of fish have got a really good protein content. So, you know, your salmon, your cod, your tuna, and whatever it might be. Meat in general. So again, talking beef, any form of pork, you know, any form of meat, you know, it's varying levels of protein. You know, our chicken, turkey is really lean. It doesn't have a great deal of fat in. So again, it keeps them calories down a little bit in our chicken and our turkey as well. Then we've got eggs. Eggs are a really good form of protein as well. A lot of the protein in an egg is found in the white, and a lot of the fats and a lot of the calories found in an egg, not that they're overly like calorific or anything like that, but a lot of the calories actually comes from the yolk itself, which is why you might see like in healthy or weight loss circles, you might see recipes that only use egg white omelets, egg white scrambled eggs and stuff like that, because the calories are lower while delivering that high protein content. Because no matter how low you're trying to get your calories every day, no matter what you're aiming for, we've all still got that base need of how much protein our body actually needs, and we do still need to make sure that we get that. So can sometimes be part of the puzzle, trying to figure out how do you get enough protein without putting your calories over the top. But that's where we need to be smart sometimes, and go with sources of protein that are really lean and don't bring a lot of calories with them, you know. Okay, so beans, eggs, sorry, beans as well. Right, I just want to double check this because I realized I confused myself before in the difference between legumes and right, okay, yeah, I got it. So yeah, that makes sense. So beans are pulses. Yeah, so beans tend to be we've got obviously our baked beans, our kidney beans, black beans, whatever it might be, all good forms of protein. And then of course pulses in general, so anything that is found sort of within a pod, really. Yeah, within a pod. So peas, stuff like that, chickpeas and stuff like that, all pulses, all have really good, really high protein content. So it's nice to know that we can get protein in there without necessarily eating meat, of course, for the vegans and vegetarians among us. That does still prove to be a challenge for quite a lot of vegans and vegetarians, though, making sure to get enough protein, because of course without fish, meat, maybe eggs, you're cutting out a lot of the more common forms of protein. So just making sure that we get enough protein in day to day, which is something that we can talk about later on in the session as well. And dairy products as well. Dairy products can have a decent protein level as well, be it sort of certain cheeses, certain yogurts, and all that sort of thing as well. I mean, these days you can even get protein yogurts and protein cheese. Actually, there's one called Eat Lean. I think like Tesco will do it. I don't know whether Asda do. I think like Morrison's and Sainsbury's do as well. But that's quite like a high protein cheese as well. But cheese in general tends to have a decent whack of protein in as well. It's just the fats in cheese that tends to bring a load of extra calories as well. So again, if you were trying to get enough protein as a vegetarian, but also still lose a little bit of weight and not have loads of fatty foods to get the protein, you might not want a load of cheese. So again, you would be limited to trying to get all of your protein for the day, probably through beans, pulses, maybe protein shakes at a push, because they're just there to supplement a diet that isn't getting enough of something. Tofu as well actually is a good form of protein, as an option for vegans and veggies as well, so you could always try tofu. Okay then, so moving on to the last of those three macronutrients, we have of course fat. So not all fats are created equal. We have healthy fats that our body actually need, and then we have unhealthy fats which our body could do without, and that can cause our heart and our system some problems as well. They tend to be some of them are actually sort of manufactured, so sort of man-made as well. So fat in our diet is important, and I think with media and just society in general, I think the idea of fat and the word fat in itself has been quite sort of demonized. Like, it's a bad word, it's a negative word. We have bad associations with the word fat. We sort of almost feel as though it's something to be ashamed of for having like a little bit of extra fat. Having fat doesn't make you fat. But yeah, I do feel like it's a word and something in the diet that has kind of been shied away from at times, and not always in the healthiest way, because like I say, we do need it. We need fat. Its main job is to store energy in the body, and insulate us against the cold. Fat will also help give a little bit of padding to our organs and the sort of the end of our bones as well. And fats can actually help us absorb and store certain vitamins from our food as well. So we need fat in our diet to give these vitamins something to cling to. So when we absorb the fat and take the fat into our body, with the vitamins come with them as well, because the body can't just outright pick the vitamin out. Fascinating thing, the human body, it really is. But yeah, we do have a need for those fats as well. And back up for fats. Fat can be used as a form of energy as well. It's like a secondary thing, and you have to. It's putting the body in a state of what is called ketosis. You might have heard the term keto before. You might have heard someone say they're going on a keto diet. It pretty much means that they're just getting fats and protein. So your body gets so used to having no carbohydrates, it then goes, right, we're going to switch over and use fat for energy now instead. It's not for everybody. It can be effective. But like I say, not necessarily for everybody, because especially at first, while you're going through low carbs, can almost feel like a little bit like being unwell, like being ill, actually. I've tried it myself, where I've gone low carb for a few days to try certain things, and I just ended up feeling rough. Sometimes call it the carbohydrate flu, or the no carb flu, because that's what it can feel like at first. Not to necessarily put anybody off, but also I wouldn't want anybody out there trying it and putting themselves through it for no good reason. You know, keto isn't for everybody, and like I say, it certainly wouldn't work for myself, I don't think, especially not at first. I just love my carbs too much, I think. But yeah, again, body types and stuff like that. But yeah, we do need fats at the end of the day. So where do we get them? Where do we get good fats that we actually need? So we're talking butter and some other dairy products as well. Sometimes like your milks and your cheese and stuff like that as well. They're going to have a fat content. Oils, olive oil, coconut oil, whatever it might be, and nuts as well. Loads of different nuts have different fats. In fact, I've got some nuts in the cupboard that I want to have a look at when we do our food labels. All right, guys. Okay. For anybody that may just be wondering whether they've spotted Christmas decorations in the background, yes, you have. Yes. I ended up in the loft yesterday, and it was, you might as well get the decorations out while you're up there. So yeah, we're getting started early this year, guys. Right. So yeah, we do need fats in our diet, and like I said, it's good for our hair quality, our skin quality as well, and especially if we're getting good fats as well. We can normally see, to an extent, especially in extreme cases, the sort of foods and fats that people are getting. You know, does your skin look healthy and glowing? Are you getting good fats, like from our fish and stuff like that as well? Like some fish is quite oily. Or are we getting loads of bad fats, greasy pizzas and takeaways and stuff like that? And of course, that shows itself on the skin as well. One of my favorite sayings, it's what you eat in private, you wear in public. You know, nobody might see you eating the pizza. And pizza's not always a bad thing. Again, like I'm never going to say this is like innately bad. It's all context, you know. It's right, where are we at? Okay, so how much of each macronutrient we need every day? So the way I do it, I tend to start with my protein. Yeah, I'll start with my protein, in which 1 gram of protein has 4 calories. Yeah. And I'll try and get, at first, you know, if you're not eating protein at every meal, start trying to eat protein at every meal. It doesn't matter how much it is, just start trying to get protein at each meal. You know, it might be a couple of eggs. You know, if maybe you like oats on a morning, can you get some peanut butter in there or something like that for a little bit of protein, or something like that? You know, just try and get some protein in with each meal. That's why I eat a lot of sort of like savory stuff for breakfast as well. You know, be it sort of like even like bacon and egg wraps or muffins and stuff like that, because I can get a decent amount of protein in. Because what you find with protein is that if you wake up and have a bowl of cereal for your breakfast, as I did every day through my school years, so I sort of grew up knowing that, you get up and have a bowl of like cereal for your breakfast, pretty much all carbohydrates, depending on what it is. Then you might have cheese sarnie for your dinner with a packet of crisps, next to no protein in that. And then you come home, you have your evening meal, and the most protein your body can take in one go is about 40 grams, like high end ish. I wouldn't be trying to get really any more than that in every meal. So really, you would then get in from work on a night or whatever it is, and you've got the evening to get all your protein in for the day. So like you sort of getting to tea time and you haven't even started on your protein intake for the day, really, which is why I try and spread it out. I'll try and make sure that I'm getting so this here, that should be 90 actually. So what I do, try and get between 20 and 30 at each meal. So if you're eating 3 meals a day, you should be coming out anywhere between 60 and 90 grams of protein. Yeah. But again, the way to do it is to do baby steps. That might be where you want to end up, but you need to look at where you are now and take steps down that line. So you might say, okay, at the minute, I'm not getting any protein in at breakfast. Let's try and find a way to get 10 grams, 5 grams. How much protein's in an egg? You know, can I boil an egg and have an egg on the side? How many eggs would I need to eat to get 10 grams? Stuff like that we can start thinking about, you know. So yeah, trying to get some 20 to 30 grams of protein with each meal is going to end up being sort of 240 to just over 300 of your calories for the day coming from protein. Okay, so carbohydrates, same again, 1 gram has 4 calories. So very simple way, it's exactly the same as protein. 1 gram, 4 calories. So carbohydrates, if you can aim for about approximately 200 to 250 grams a day. So same again, split that out across however many meals you're having. It doesn't have to be exactly the same for each meal. You might prefer, I don't know, you might want 50 grams for your breakfast, 50 grams for your lunch, but then 150 grams with your tea. It doesn't matter how you do it. It's just to give you an example, I guess, of how you could split things up if you wanted to just aim for the same sort of parameters every single meal time, I guess. So carbohydrates, 200 to 250 grams a day will put you on about 800 to 1,000 calories. Yeah, so we can add that in with our protein as well. And then fats. Now, this is the thing to watch out for with fats. 1 gram has 9 calories. Yeah, so it's more than double the amount of calories that we get per gram of protein or per gram of carbohydrates. Bear with us, guys, if you are watching along and commenting in the chat. I've just realized my phone hasn't been updating. Have a look, just bear with us 2 seconds. There we go, cool, nice one. Right, I'm up to date, just making sure there was nothing in the chat I needed to keep an eye on. Okay then, yeah, so 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. And if we think about that, it makes sense why it's easy to overeat on fatty foods or get too many calories. You know, stuff with more fat in is going to have more calories in. Yeah, which is why, although they're good fats, even a handful of nuts might have 100 to 200 calories in, you know. Whereas like you think how much like broccoli or lettuce or carrot or whatever it might be that you need to eat to get to 200 like calories, you'd be on for ages. So again, fats carry a lot more, which is again when we find ourselves starving sometimes, or what we perceive to be starving or really hungry, that can also be why we end up craving fatty foods, because your body will be saying, it's not necessarily the fat that I want, but it's the calories. I want them calories, and the body knows that there's more calories in fat, so it will crave fat to get those calories in quicker. You know, you notice when you start, it's always, oh, I fancy a burger, or I could do with the pizza, or, you know, fish and chips, or whatever it might be. It's never, oh, I could murder a chicken salad. Okay then, guys. So let's move on and start thinking about food labels then, because there's lots of stuff that lots of information that we can gain from food labels. So let's have a look. So stuff that we would expect to find on a food label, you would find ingredients. I'm just going to try and point these out on these beans, although I'm well aware that you guys can't see overly well. So we've got ingredients on there. Yep, we've got our ingredients. Energy, of course, like we said earlier, is measured in calories. So if we look at the top, it actually says energy, if you've never noticed. So it says 329 kilojoules, which is just another form of energy. And then it says 78 kcal, and that's all your kcal is, just your calories, yeah? So calories, we've got 78 calories in there. So that's our energy, yeah? So fat, I can see, okay, we've got fat on there, yeah. And then there'll be a little section underneath that will say of which are saturated, or of which saturates, or something to that effect, because the saturated fats are the bad ones that we want to stay away from. So if we know that something's got quite a high fat content, it's not necessarily the end of the world. We just need to make sure we know how many saturated fats are in there, because those are the ones that really easy can block your heart and your arteries and stuff like that as well, and cause health problems, heart problems. So it's those saturated fats that we want to watch out for. So it's handy that it gives us like its own little separate category, really, of which of what, like, which of the fats are saturated. Okay, guys, then we've got carbohydrates, which does exactly the same. So it tells us how many carbs we've got, and then how many of those carbs are sugars. Yeah, so when we bake beans, we've got carbohydrates, 12.5 grams, of which sugars is 4.7 grams. Yeah, so that's 4.7 grams of those 12.5 grams of carbs. 4.7 of them are sugar. Yeah, so same again. The things that we need to watch out for have got its own little sort of separate heading underneath, really. Then it'll tell us fiber. Yeah, it'll tell us our fiber. Protein should be on there as well, actually. I've just seen. I'll put it on later. So protein as well. I obviously understand that with carbs, and it's pointing out sugars, and with fats, it's pointing out saturated fats. So it's trying to let you know what's bad and what's to stay away from. With protein, you don't really get that. With protein, it would just say protein. And in this case, per 100 grams, we have got 4.7 grams of protein. So per 100 grams, 4.7 grams of protein is in these beans. Then we've got salt, which might sometimes show up as sodium. Sometimes it'll show up as sodium. It's just the same thing. Grams per pack. It'll tell you how many grams the full thing is. So with these beans, 415 grams. But then it should also tell you as well how many servings you've got there. So this here says 2 servings. So I know that this can should be split between 2 people. Yeah. So if I split that between 2 people, I know that what it says per half a can is what I've had. Yeah. So it'll be really easy to track how much protein have you actually had there. I'll bear with us 2 seconds. That light gonna do my nutting. Oh, close these curtains. Dog's looking at us in his crate like, is it time to get up yet, Dad? Not yet. Not yet. Okay, guys, cool. Right, that's a little bit better, isn't it? Right then, right. So yeah, grams per pack, it'll tell you. So that's really handy for say if you were to buy anything really, a family size, lasagna, shepherd's pie, spag bol. It could be pizza. You could be getting like microwave rice. I've done that before, eating the full thing and then saying on the packet it says that it serves two. So same, it's not the end of the world. Just be aware that if you've had 2 servings, you've had double of everything, really. You know, it's really easy to overlook that, especially with stuff that you tend not to weigh. So stuff like cereal as well. So if you have like a bowl of cereal, like say you're going to treat yourself to a bowl of Cocoa Pops or whatever, and you think, oh, 1 serving's only got like however many grams of protein of sugar in. You know, it would be when it comes to cereal, like I say, it's really easy to pour more than an actual serving amount. So it might say a serving's like 25 grams. I've never stood there and weighed out my cereal, I've got to be honest. So I mean, like you might end up having 2, 3, 4 times the amount, and then you look on the thing and go, okay, 1 serving is this amount. So I haven't had that much sugar at all, really, when you've maybe had triple, quadruple that. So yeah, just be aware how many servings it is per packet as well, but per grams per pack can help as well. And then we've got the traffic light colors, which is what we're going to look at in just a second. So these traffic light colors, in fact, these are on these beans as well. So what we've got with the traffic light colors, it's sort of like, it's like a color coded system that lets us know if something's like low in something. So the normal ones that you'll see will be fat, saturated fat, sugar, and salt. So those will be the ones that you tend to see that I've got the color system on. So then what it does, yeah, it tells you whether it's low, medium, or high in something. So if it's green, like these 3 here, it means that it's low. So it's low in fat, low in saturated fat, and low in sugar as well. So 3 greens, and then we've got the little orange one at the bottom, which is salt. So it's not high in salt, but it's not low in salt either, so it's in the middle. And those traffic light colors can just help speed up that process a little bit, and like, okay, this is high in that, it's low in that, and help you make those decisions as well. What you will find though is that these colors, they aren't law, they aren't like legally required, whereas the nutritional information is. So some products will choose not to put the colors on. Yeah, if it was something that was really bad for you for whatever reason, I mean, let's be honest, they wouldn't want you to know that it's really bad for you because they want you to buy it. So rather than putting all 4 reds on, they would just leave them blank and just stick with this nutritional information on the back, which is where the responsibility comes on us to be able to know what is high, what is low, because like I say, on the back of there, you just get numbers, you don't get any colors to let you know whether it's high or low or what. So this next color chart is really handy in just helping us make decisions on foods that we want in our diet and that we don't, really, I guess. And here we go, guys. So what we've got here is our traffic light color code chart. Now this is so handy to have sort of ready to go somewhere that you can access it quite quickly. I mean, I've got it on the fridge. I've actually got this printed off on the fridge. I remember when I first started using it, I had it saved on my phone. You can print it off and keep it in your purse, your wallet, your handbag, whatever you might want to do. You can screen grab it. If you're watching along on your phone now, screenshot it. If you want to, maybe you're not watching on your phone now, but you want to watch, you can come back and watch the video again later and get a screenshot there. But it is handy to have. It is handy to have, preferably on hand before we buy certain foods, because once it's in the house, like I say, you can get it out the cupboard and go, oh, that's actually unhealthy, really. You've still only got 2 options. It's eat it or bin it, isn't it, really? You've got the same 2 options as before you even knew what was in it. So if you know beforehand, you can make the decision not to buy it, not to make the purchase, and not to bring it home in the first place as well. So if you can have an idea going into the shops, what's high, what's low, and that's why it is just handy having it sort of on your person easily accessible. Just while you're getting used to these parameters, really, I guess these. I'm drawing a blank on the right word or what they would be. Anyway, these little groups that we've got. So for sugar, so again, we've got sugar, fat, saturated fat, and salt. And then we've got high, medium, and low down the side. So we could just use it like a normal sort of chart. We can come across, we can say, so sugar per 100 grams. So over 15 grams is considered high. But remember, that's not 15 grams of sugar in the whole thing. That's 15 grams of sugar per 100 grams. Everything that we do will be per 100 grams because, again, it makes it easy to compare. Now, that is legal. That per 100 grams has to be on there. They may also put per half a can or per serving or whatever it might be. But or per 2 biscuits or whatever it might actually say if you're eating if it's biscuits or whatever. But all of it will say per 100 grams, so we can make a decision because per 100 grams gives us that nice flat level to just compare everything else to. So per 100 grams, sugar, anything over 15 grams will be considered high. Yeah, between 5 and 15 grams is medium, and anything under 5 grams is low in sugar. So again, coming back to the baked beans, that is why per 100 grams, sugar 4.7. So it would fit very nicely into this low in sugar section. Yeah. So that's something to always sort of bear in mind when something says low sugar or low fat, these are the brackets that they're referring to. Yeah. Something can't say low in sugar if it isn't under 5 grams. Yeah, legally it can't. So again, these beans have got low in fat on the side. So without even checking, really, I should be able to say, right, okay, they're low in fat, they're high. But for argument's sake, let's compare. So per 100 grams, fat is 0.2. So fat, 0.2 is well under 3, isn't it? Yeah. So per 100 grams, 0.2 is really low in fat as well. Yeah. So we've got fat on there. So yeah, that is one thing to bear in mind. If something says low in something or whatever, these are the numbers that they're sort of sticking to, and that determine what can say that it is and isn't. Okay then, so let's look at fat. So for fat, anything over 20 grams, again, per 100 grams. Yeah, so per 100 grams, anything over 20 grams of fat is considered high in fat. Between 3 and 20 grams of fat is considered high in fat, and under 3 is considered low in fat. Yeah. Now again, not anything major or anything too crazy, but just look at sometimes in this medium section, it's quite a big range. So something with 3 grams of fat in per 100 grams, something with 3 grams would show up as yellow, but something with 19.9 grams would as well. Or for argument's sake, 18 grams would show up, whereas that's got actually still 6 times more fat than something that was 3 grams, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, something can say they can both be medium, but one might have 3 grams of fat in and the other might have 18 grams of fat in, which is quite a big difference. Yeah. Well, in terms of color, they would still just both be orange or amber. So again, actually being able to look at the numbers can really help. Saturated fats. So you notice the numbers for this is a lot lower. Anything over 5 grams per 100 grams is considered to be high in saturated fats. So that shows you just how little we actually need saturated fats. Anything between 1 and 5 grams is considered medium, and anything under 1.5 grams of saturated fat per 100 grams is considered low. Yeah. So it almost has to be sort of less than 1% saturated fat to be low in saturated fat when we think about it. Okay then, so then the last one that we've got is salt, because salt is another thing that is really sort of prevalent in our diets these days. It's really easy to end up having more salt than we actually need or want. And then of course we often add salt ourselves as well. So it's handy to know what salt is in our foods that is coming pre-prepared. Anything over 1.5 grams, again, per 100 grams, anything over 1.5 grams is considered high in salt. 0.3 to 1.5 grams is considered medium, and anything under 0.3 grams of salt is considered low. So it really does need to be really low salt to be considered low salt. Of course, 1.5 grams is considered high. They recommend no more than 6 grams of salt a day. The powers that be recommend no more than, like I say, 6 grams of salt a day, just for our heart and our blood pressure, which is really easy to go over, especially if we are adding a load of salted foods ourselves as well. So again, just something to watch out for. But yeah, so with our baked beans, we had 3 greens and we had an orange as well, which was the salt, of course, because it was 1.2. So again, for salt, it's still medium, but it's quite high towards the upper end of medium as well. Yeah, it might be medium and quite low, but it's nowhere near like getting into that low in salt section. Okay then, guys, so let's spin on and have a look at some of this in action then. I know we've done our baked beans as we've gone through, but a little bit more visual on the screen for yourself. So what we've got here is it's a healthy breakfast bar, right? It's a good, natural, says the word natural on it. You know, it says almond and apricot. Excellent. Got to be a healthy option, right? A lot of people would rely on stuff like this for sort of like a backup breakfast if you haven't got time to sit and have something or cook something, or you know, maybe you just don't have a big appetite on a morning, or you might take it for your lunch or a snack, you know. But at least the one thing that the product says is that it's natural, right? It says eat natural. It's got to be a really healthy option, right? Well, let's have a look. Let's break it down. I'm just going to put this on a bigger screen so we can see those numbers a little bit better. Okay, so what we've got, what's in them there cereal bars? So yeah, so we've got a fruit and nut bar, almond and apricot flavored with a yogurt coating. Yeah, sounds pretty good. Okay, let's break it down then. So calories per 50 gram serving. So I'm going to, oh yeah, we've got 50 gram here in the top of the bag that I can just say make out. So per bar, nearly 240 calories. Yeah? Doesn't tell us too much just yet. Let's do sugar first then. So sugar per 100 grams. So what we need to do, oh no, it's there, never mind. We've got per 100 grams. If you ever get to the point where you haven't got it, but you've got 50 grams, obviously just double everything. But we've got it here. So energy would be 476 calories. Again, that will be with 2 bars, obviously. But yeah, we need... Behave, man. Your phone's talking to us. I'm talking to the guys. Okay, so yeah, where were we? So yeah, sugar. Still using that per 100 grams as a measuring stick to keep it level across all the products that we could look at, even though 1 bar itself is only 50 grams. Yeah, we still need to know per 100 grams what these numbers are. So sugar, we've got 31.2 grams per 100 grams. So sugar, 31.2, go back, 31 2 grams of sugar means that we're not only in this section and we're high in sugar, but we're more than double the number that it means to be high in sugar. Yeah. So again, I wouldn't be holding my breath expecting to see the traffic light system on this product, because sugar straight away would need to be in red. And even then, I don't think red indicates just how high in sugar it is, because it's not just 15 grams, it's more than double that. 31.2 grams of sugar per 100 grams. What about fat then? So fat, we've got per 100 grams, fat 26.7 grams. So back to here, over 20, yeah, 26.7. So it's high in fat as well. So we've got high in sugar, high in fat. Is it still sounding like such a healthy breakfast idea? Let's keep going. Saturated fat, what have we got? What have we got? Saturated fat. Fats of which is saturated, 18.8 grams per 100 grams. So it is more than triple what it needs to be saturated fat. Yeah, so it's more than triple what it needs to be high in saturated fat at 18.8. Crazy, crazy. And then we've got salt. So salt is 0.6. So again, I'd be in something that is this sweet, I'd be surprised if there was much more salt than that. But even that, 0.6 is still double what you need to be, like the upper threshold of low. So it's in this medium section. So this Eat Natural breakfast bar, cereal bar, or whatever it wants to call itself, that is trying to use words like natural and stuff like that to convince us it's good for our diet and our body, would have 3 reds and an orange. Yeah, three reds and an orange. So I can guarantee you that these products in the shops, if you see these Eat Natural bars, keep an eye out, because I'd be very interested to hear that they've got the color code on the side, because you would look at them, something that's trying to almost sort of convince you that it's healthy. It makes no sense for it to have the traffic lights on the side. Who's going to look at it and go 3 reds and an orange? Like, you would just look and say, oh, well, not as healthy as you want us to think it is. So that's where they put the responsibility onto us, in that it's like, right, okay, we'll just give them the numbers and let them figure out what's high and what's low. So yeah, not all products will do this, and I would be very surprised if these actually did, because they would give themselves away straight away. Okay, one more. Another breakfast bar. Kellogg's would never lie to us, would they? Kellogg's would never do us wrong. Well, let's see. Let's have a look. Right. So again, we've got per 37 gram bar, and this column would be really helpful in helping you track what you've actually had if you had one of these bars. Yeah, if you were keeping a food diary or using MyFitnessPal or something like that, you would enter these because you've had 1 bar. Yeah, so you could say, right, 1.6 grams of protein sorted, and I've had 130 calories. But again, in order to know are we high, medium, or low, we need to come back to per 100 grams, because everything needs to be done per 100 grams. So what have we got then? Per 100 grams. Again, we don't need to worry too much about the calories, but we can see it's 351 calories. Right, let's break it down. So we'll do sugar again first. So sugar, 33 grams. Is that more than the last one? That's even more than the last one, guys. Yeah, so again, more than double the amount of sugar. But then if we say here on the bar itself, says no high fructose corn syrup. So it's trying to say, oh, we're healthy, we haven't got any of this in. And then this bit here, actually, by the looks of it, says real fruit and whole grains. It may well have some real fruit in there to an extent, but we've still got 33 grams. Like, think about it that way. Of 100 grams, or of 100, 33 is essentially a third. So that bar there, a third of it is sugar. Yeah, a third of it is nothing but sugar. Okay, fat. What have we got then? Fat next. Per 100 grams, fat 8.3. Okay, so this one not quite so high in fat. Yeah, so we would be 8.3, fits us quite snugly into this section here. Yeah, this medium section here. So we'd have 8.3. So we've got a red and an orange so far. Okay then, okay. So saturated fats then. Saturated fats, we've got 3 grams of saturated fats. So we would be in this one again. So a red and 2 oranges so far. Then what about salt? What have we got for salt? Per 100 grams, 0.55. So it's pretty much the same as the 0.6 from the last bar. And again, puts us into medium. So we've got a red and 3 oranges with this one. So arguably not quite as bad as 3 reds and an orange. I'd rather have 3 oranges and a red. But again, it's nowhere near the healthy, no additives, eat natural, have this for your breakfast every day sort of thing that it would like you to think that it is. And again, I would be quite surprised if these had the colors on, because I think even 3 oranges and a red makes you look and think, wow, that's not as healthy as they're actually selling it to be or marketing it as. So again, just something to watch out for there. Okay, right, guys, before we move on, I do want to look at the food pyramid because it can give us a bit of an idea on our portion sizes. But one thing that I did want to look at was going to be Nutella, because I remember Nutella not so long ago, actually. I remember adverts, I say not so long ago, could be 10 years ago, actually. I remember Nutella rebranded itself from chocolate spread to hazelnut spread. And I remember seeing an advert on the telly that was pushing Nutella as a good breakfast choice for your kids, because it's got I think they actually said slow releasing sugars that will get your kids through to dinner time, or enough sugar to get your kids through to dinner time, or something like that. But it was worded in a really specific, subtle way, and obviously sort of like trying to pull the wool over our eyes a little bit. And yeah, just the idea of pushing essentially chocolate as a breakfast idea to kids. It got shut down. That advert got taken off. They had to change their approach, because even I'm trying to think of the body that would have regulated it, like the company, but they said no, we're not having that. Like you can't do that. You can't be telling parents that chocolate's a good idea for kids for their breakfast. In the day of obesity being as bad as it's ever been, and you just can't do it. So again, we've got chocolate spread in the house because from time to time we'll use it a little bit. It might be in a little bit of cooking, or it might be if I'm going for a really long walk or been for a really long walk or something and I feel like I need the sugars. It's not something that I would have as part of my breakfast every day, but again, something that sort of was trying to get away from the fact that it is essentially just a chocolate spread. I thought we may as well have a look and see just how much of these things are in it again. So we've got obviously our chart there on the screen. Let's have a look then. Let's have a look. So per 100 grams. Now it's interesting, just before I move on, actually, this says that per portion, chocolate spread or hazelnut spread should be had 15 grams at a time. So 15 grams is one portion. I've never weighed out Nutella. Definitely never weighed out Nutella. So again, when it comes to stuff like that, it can be so hard to track accurately what we've had. Right then, so per 100 grams. So again, calories isn't necessarily a massive thing to look at per 100 grams. Calories is more important based on the amount that you actually eat. So although you can use this column here for this bar to see if it's high, low, or medium, if you ate the 37-gram bar, you would know, right, I've had 130 calories. So per 100 grams, 539 calories. So we know that per 100 grams, it's got more calories in than like this sort of bar. Okay, what have we got first? Fat. Fat, we have got 30.9. So fat, 30.9 is well into it's really comfortably into the high in fat section. Yeah, so we're high in fat, which we know from earlier. Fat has more calories per gram than anything else, so that'll be where some of those extra calories are coming from. It's high in fat, of which are saturated 10.6. So we're high in fat and we're high in saturated fat, more than double the amount that we needed to be high in saturated fat. What's next? Carbs, we don't need to worry about too much, but sugars, 56.3. 56.3 grams of sugar per 100 grams. So what's that? It's nearly 4 times, isn't it? It's nearly 4 times the amount of sugar that you'd need to be high in sugar. But this was a breakfast idea at one point. It's crazy. Right, saturated fats we did, and then the last one was salt. You know, again, I'd be really surprised if there's much salt in there. It's really sweet. 0.1. So salt would be low. So we'd have 3 reds and a green. It's not what I would be giving my kids for breakfast. But again, even then, looking at it, you know, on the front they've got the hazelnuts, they've got, you know, our green, our leaves. They're even putting it on a slice of what looks like a slice of toast. There you go, have that for your breakfast. Whereas, yeah, it's like I say, not what I would be having. And then on the back it says it's giving you sort of like almost stuff that they're proud of, you know, just like our quality, 7 ingredients, no hydrogenated fats, no preservatives, and no colorings. It's like, yeah, that is the case. It must be for them to say it, but it's not the biggest of my concerns when there's that much sugar and stuff in it, you know. So again, just thinking about if we were gonna have something like that, I think of like greens, stuff that's green, eat as much of them as you want all day, every day. Stuff that's medium or mainly oranges, eat a little bit less, you know, every now and then. And then you've got stuff that's high and stuff that's red. And like I say, that doesn't mean never have it. It just means really sort of infrequently, you know, not necessarily every day. Like I say, I certainly couldn't dream of waking up and having Nutella every single day. But again, pancake day, I'll put some on my pancakes or something like that, and I'll change me exercise and the rest of my food around it just to make it fit. Because that's that, like I say, that's what it is. It's trying to make the pieces fit, make them all fit together. And I think of sort of when I think of food, a benchmark that I try and aim for is 80% nutritious, 20% delicious. Yeah, so 80% that is, of course, good healthy food, serving a good like a good job in your body, and then 20% of treats that are a little bit for yourself. You know, it's a good benchmark to aim for, because you'd be surprised how much that can sometimes force you into cutting back on some of the junks and snack that you do actually have, which sort of points out that you're getting a lot more than you actually need. Right, guys, right then, just before we finish up, I did want to look at the food pyramid. It can just give us a bit of an idea of portions throughout the day, and how much of each food group that we might actually want. So again, we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. The stuff that's at the bottom, we're going to tend to have more of on a daily basis, and then less as we actually move up as well. So carbohydrates, you're going to end up having a lot more carbs throughout the day. Like I say, that was where my I would start my meals. I would say, right, I'm going to do this meal, and it's going to be like based on rice, or the base is going to be rice, and I can go from there. Yeah, so carbohydrates, again, depending on body types, but carbohydrates tend to be what pads out most of our meals, because as much as anything, it's quite budget friendly as well. Rice, pasta, tatties, bread cost very little compared to our dairy and our protein and stuff. Okay, so then coming up the food pyramid, we're going to be coming up to our fruit and veg, which, you know, wants to be the next thing that we eat the most of throughout the day. You know, although they are carbohydrates as well, we do need to make sure that we're getting plenty of fruit and veg in as well. So we're talking anywhere between 3 and 5 servings of veg and 2 to 4 servings of fruit a day. The reason that we would have more veg than fruit typically is that fruit can have quite a high sugar content as well. So again, if you're watching your sugar intake, as we probably all should be doing really, it sometimes pays to have some extra veg and a little bit less fruit. But again, not every day. Not every day needs to look the same. From there, we're going to move on to 2 or 3 servings of protein a day, ideally 1 at each meal, like we talked about earlier on, to make sure that we get enough protein in for the day. Little equation you can do, actually. If you know how much you weigh in pounds, you can figure out how much protein you need. So if, for example, I weighed 120 pounds, I can go to my calculator and go 120 pounds is what I weigh. I'm going to times that by 0.8. So 0.8 puts me on 96. Yeah, so your weight in pounds times 0.8 gives you an idea how much protein you want every day. So for me, I'll be aiming for 96 grams of protein every day at the weight that I'm at now. Yeah, obviously, as I start to weigh more, I'm going to need more protein. And again, like I said, I'm not heavy. I don't have a lot of mass to sustain. But it'd be so easy to get through a day without eating 96 grams of protein. You know, so again, have a think. Are you getting enough protein, do you think? Do you think, bearing in mind that a chicken breast might have somewhere between 20 and 30, and I need 96 grams of protein a day, do you think you're getting enough? Just something to think about. Something to think about, because it's quite filling as well, you'll find, with protein. It's quite filling. Like, again, you could eat like if you go to McDonald's, you can get 1,000 calories of McDonald's and still be hungry like an hour or 2 later. If you eat 1,000 calories of protein, like steak and chicken, you're going to be done. You're not going to eat anything else for the rest of the day. So again, like that good quality protein base as well, getting that protein can fill us up and keep us off snacking as well sometimes. And then we've got our dairy as well, of course, a couple of servings a day. Make sure that we're not going overboard on the fats and therefore the calories. And then the foods at the top of the pyramid that we're going to have even less, like least of all. Again, these are the foods that would probably show up reds on the food labels. Stuff like oils, we don't have very much every day. Obviously, we probably cook with it. And then foods that are high in fat and sugar, you know, our snacks, our crisps, our chocolate bars or whatever. Again, use sparingly. Notice this doesn't say never have, just use sparingly, yeah? Give yourself half a chance. Let yourself have the stuff that you enjoy, because you're much more likely to be consistent with your food plan then, like I say. Whereas if you're following a plan that doesn't allow any of the food that you enjoy, sooner or later it's going to go out the window. It just will. Okay, guys, I'm just going to double check the rumblings in the chat, see if there's anything going on in the chat. Happy days. Oh, in fact, I'm going to go and grab them nuts before we finish up, and let's have a look and see the fat content. Right, guys, so I stumbled upon these the other week because I was looking for almost like trail mix, you know, sort of like a mix between like fruit, like raisins, sultanas and stuff, and some nuts. And I noticed that so many of them, especially stuff that had like dried bits of pineapple and dried bits of banana in and stuff like that, was so high in sugar. It was crazy. They were all coming out. Again, it just shows you that they were all coming out as high in sugar, and I was absolutely amazed. So what we've got here, but I mean like well into it. So what we've got here, per 100 grams, and we have got Stockwell's natural unsalted fruit and nuts. So it's a mix of raisins, sultanas, peanuts, and almonds. So we have got, let's have a look. So fat, the fat content per 100 grams is 35 grams. Yeah, so go back to this. Fat content per 100 grams is 35 grams. Yeah, so that's high in fat. Yeah. But saturated fats come in as medium. Yeah. So for me, what I'm going for is nuts, because they're quite high in calories. In order to get the calories in, having never been a one with like a massive appetite, so for me it was like, yeah, I need a high calorie snack. But this is also something you would look at as potentially like a clean product, something that was healthy. If you were trying to lose weight and get like healthier or more active, you might be tempted to pick something like this up. I think, yeah, that's a good snack, obviously, without being aware how many calories are actually in them. You'd probably be better off having a couple of Jaffa cakes and just admitting like, right, okay, I've had a little treat, rather than picking up something like this and being convinced that it's just because it's natural and there's no additives and stuff like that. That doesn't mean that it's low calorie. Yeah, so just watch out for stuff like that. So again, nuts, really calorific because they have a lot of fats. We now know that fats carry a lot of calories with them, but they are good fats. There's less of the saturated fats. So it's a relatively healthy snack. It's a pretty healthy snack, but there's a lot of calories that come with it. It's ideal for me, not necessarily what everybody's looking for as well, though. So just remember that just because something says natural, or if it's clean or healthy or whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily mean low calorie. And when it comes to weight loss, that's what it comes down to, and the amount of calories that are coming in versus the calories that are being burned. So yeah, just something to watch out for there. Especially when I guess this is going to be really helpful at Christmas when we're putting stuff in the old basket. You know, it's always handy to know just how bad stuff is for you. You know, not to say again, don't enjoy ourselves at Christmas. I'll be the first one into the tin of quality streets when they come out. But again, we just need to be aware of what it is that we're having, so we can maybe have a little bit less elsewhere in the day or elsewhere in the week. You know, it might be things like, are you going to a Christmas do or work do or something like that, that you know you're going to have a couple of drinks. There might be a takeaway or a buffet on or something like that. Just have a little bit, like a little less calories the day before or the day after or something like that, and balance it out. It's not a case of using this to identify foods you can never have. It's using this to identify foods that need a little bit more like prying into your diet somewhere without offsetting the full thing and getting in the way of your goals, really. But yeah, there's a lot of information we can take from food labels, which again is going to be key in helping us make good choices and get good food into our baskets and into the house as well. Because again, if you wait till you're in the house before you look at something and go, oh, that's really high in sugar, that I don't want that, like I say, you've got to eat it up in it, really. It's best to know before you go into the shops. And like I say, having this chart is somewhere is really handy, just for being able to pull it up quick and having a little check. Okay then, guys. So that is everything that we needed to cover this morning. Before we leave, I'll just, as always, point your direction towards the little description box under the YouTube video. So of course, any extra information that you might need is in there. Any sort of supplementary learner info that you guys might need, including a copy of our learner handbook. There's a link to that folder on the Google Drive that you can find in the description. You will also find links to our social media pages, be it Facebook, Insta. We've got Twitter on there and LinkedIn. My email address, of course, is in there if you need it. I know the majority of you probably have it by now, especially if you're watching this video, because that's how I'm sending the links out. If for whatever reason you don't have it, can't remember it, don't know where it is, it's there if you ever need to get in touch. But if you were ever really struggling, reach out to us on any of those other socials, and it'll work its way back to me anyway if it's a question for me. There's a link to another fitness video as well, which by all means go along and try out. Today's is it's all chair-based exercise, so it's all stuff that you'd be doing sat down, yeah, on a chair. So again, it's not overly strenuous. It's just a way to get us moving again, you know, especially as we're only in week 2. We might be slowly getting around to getting a little bit more active, a little bit trying to get a little bit more mobile, get a bit more exercise. We don't necessarily want to jump straight in at the deep end. So yeah, check out that video. It's chair based. You can do everything sat down. And of course, as always, that link will just take you straight to the YouTube playlist as well. So if there's, maybe you want to train your abs today or whenever you get around to doing it, there's different videos on there as well. But follow that link. It'll take you where you need to be, and you can pick whichever session you want to do. But yeah, like I say, really handy to have those as an option for while it is going to be icy and wet outside. If you don't want to go running, cycling, whatever it might be, we're going to have options to train over the winter, guys, which is always nice. And the last thing that you'll find in there, along with all of that information, is it's a link to a survey. And same as last week, and we'll do this for every session on all the courses that you end up doing as well. It'll be the same. Don't forget to do that survey, guys. There's one for each session. Won't even take you 30 minutes to fill it in. And we need that to fill in paperwork on your behalf. Of course, your feedback's always important to us as well. And we can actually use evidence from that survey to go out there and just sort of show that it's working, that it has an impact, and we can get or we continue to develop and evolve it and take the service even further as well. So thank you in advance. But yeah, please don't forget to do that survey. It's not even 30 seconds. Just in case you haven't been back and seen last week's video where I sort of explained what the crack was with it, all you need to do is click the link where it says survey. Click that link. It'll take you straight to where you need to be. You can put your answers in, and then the answers just come straight back to us. So you don't need to save it, download it, fill it in, save it again, send it back to us. None of that. It's not that complicated. Just click the link, put your answers in, job's done. Like I say, a really quick one. It makes our life so much easier. It means we're not going to ring you for more information for your paperwork. And yeah, like I say, we always like to hear a little bit of feedback, guys, what we're doing well, where we can improve even more, as we're always trying to do. But thank you so much for logging in this morning, guys. Good luck with the session later on in the week if you're watching later. Like I say, sort of whenever it suits yourself. I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope it's sort of opened our eyes a little bit to the fact that foods that would like us to think that they're good aren't always good, and how we can actually figure these things out for ourselves. Because I've been there myself, and I've seen other people do it. You pick up something, you look at the food label, it's like the Matrix. There's just numbers, and you're like, I don't know what's actually healthy. I don't know what my body needs, especially when we don't know what carbs do, what's protein for, and stuff like that as well. So hopefully this morning has really helped us get our head around some of the nutritional side of things. Like I say, if you've still got any more questions or anything a little bit more specific to yourself that you're not sure on, drop me an email. I'm always happy to help. Like I say, now's the good time to try and get some good, healthy, positive changes into our diet before Christmas rolls around and scuppers the whole thing. So yeah, let's make a start now. When it comes to exercise, it's funny actually. December's the one month that I've noticed people tend to stop going to the gym, they stop training, they stop being so active, and it's the time of the year where we're eating more junk. It's like surely that's when you want to be burning it off. So yeah, don't let yourself get to the point where you get to January, you set yourself a fitness goal, and you say, "Oh, I wish I'd started a month ago." Let's get started now, guys. Let's get started now. And if you're not sure, again, where to start, drop me a message and I'll try my best to help out and sort of point you in the right direction and get you moving and get a little bit of sort of momentum going before Christmas and the new year comes along, guys. But they are coming. They are coming. I can't believe that we're at that point already, but that's where we are. Yeah. So I hope everybody has a good week. Like I say, let me know if there's anything about this morning's session that you're not so sure about, or if you want to come back and revisit the session, of course, this link will work again. So by all means, come back and revise it as and when you feel like you need to, even if it is to just quickly run through the slides rather than watching the full session. But yeah, you know where I'm at if you need me. I hope everybody has a good week in the meantime. Stay safe, look after those around you, and we will be back next Monday, same time, 10 till 12. And we will be rolling into our next session. And just a little bit of a recap on our next session. It will be to do with the heart. So we're going to be looking at a little bit more about how the heart works, and different types of muscle in the body as well. The heart is one muscle and one type of muscle, but we have more than just that. So that's all coming in next week's session. So yeah, tune in again next week, same time. I'll catch up later in the week, whenever works for you guys, and I'll make sure that you get the links. But yeah, that'll do us for this morning. Have a good week, stay safe, look after yourself and those around you, and I will see everybody back here next Monday to do it all again. Okay, cool. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. See you all next week. Bye.